Many of us in Jiu Jitsu want a stronger grip and a stronger back. Both body parts play pivotal roles in finding success in our grappling. The problem is when we pursue both at once, it can cause a lot of pain, a lot of tendinitis in our elbows. So if you've experienced this video is for you. Let's jump in. So if you've experienced tendinitis, you know what an irritating problem this is. Once your tendons are inflamed, anything from grabbing onto your opponent to trying to maneuver into a choke, anything that's moving your elbow can be painful. It's usually a long journey to get that pain to subside, so I find it's best to take a proactive approach and not put yourself in a position to experience tendinitis. So if you're someone who's practicing jiu-jitsu and you are also concerned with your physicality because you want to lift weights and be stronger, you're probably putting a lot of tension on your elbows to begin with. Now, we throw in jiu-jitsu, back workouts, and then if you're also training your grip strength, that's a lot of wear and tear on that elbow joint. Now, some of you may be able to get away with that. I personally cannot. If I train all of those things together, eventually, probably within a couple weeks, I will be experiencing elbow pain that will continuously get worse until I feel like I can't even lift weights. For myself and anyone I train or coach, I always recommend training your body in mesocycles or phases, right? Let's train for back strength for 6 weeks. And then after that, we can train for grip strength for 6 weeks. You have to remember that when you are training your back, you're also training your grip, because whether you're doing pull downs or rows, you're using your grip strength to stay connected to that bar. So for your first 6 weeks where you're focusing on back strength, let's take your grip completely out of the equation. You're already exercising your grip by going to jiu-jitsu. There's no need to put extra stress on that. So for your back workouts, I recommend using wrist wraps. Using wrist wraps are a great way to remove your grip strength completely from the equation while also getting to focus entirely on your back. Thinking back to my high school and college era, wrist wraps were demonized a bit. They were seen as kind of the easy way out. If you use wrist wraps, you were considered to be a wimp, right? I'm really glad to see that we've gotten away from that. I see wrist wraps becoming more and more popular. They are a great training tool that allows you to train smarter, which is the whole point here. So for the 6-week phase, while you're training your back for strength, you really need to focus on pulling as much weight as possible. Let the wrist wraps do the job of your hands and maximize the results that you're gonna get in your back. Once that 6-week phase is over, you can move into your next mesocycle where you're focusing on your grip strength. And I just wanna take a quick break to give my sponsors, X Martial, a shout out. Not only does X Martial have the highest quality no-gi gear for adults and kids on the market, they also provide workout equipment and training tools, everything from resistance bands to grip work to abdominal work. You name it, they got it. On top of all that, they also have the X Martial Charity Initiative, where they help bullied or underprivileged people get help with their training fees and free gear. You're not gonna find a higher quality company out there. So if you wanna look as good as me and probably even better, get over to xmartial.com, use my code IRONWILL to save yourself some money, and look good while you sharpen your skills. All right, well, I think that covers it. Let's get back to the video. I've picked up a couple training tools from X Martial. They've got a lot of good training equipment, especially in the grip strength department. 2 of those things being their grip strength ball and the wooden rod. I like these attachments because you can attach them to anything you would be doing for your back, whether it be pull downs, rows, whatever. These attachments will work your grip strength much like you'll use in jiu-jitsu. Now, one thing to consider is, are you mainly doing gi or are you mainly doing no gi? These attachments, I'd say, transition really nicely for no gi. There will be some application to the gi. If you're a gi person mainly, I'd recommend just hanging a gi top up over your pull-up bar. You can even wrap a gi top around your lat rows, whatever it may be, and pull from the gi top. This is a great way to acclimate your hands to fitting into a gi better with better grip strength. But For those of us who like no-gi, I love no-gi, wrestler pass, so I love my no-gi. I think that focusing on these tools right here is an excellent way to work on your grip strength. And like I said, you'll still have applications to working with the gi as well, because you still will grab wrists and ankles and the back of someone's neck while you're in the gi. So there's application everywhere. As you can see here, I'm using the ball attachment for my pull-ups. You can also use these, like I said, for pull downs, rows, whatever it is that you're doing for your back, you can do that. As you can see, I also like using the wooden rod attachment. This is great for rows because it really simulates grabbing onto a wrist. Now, this wooden rod attachment is thicker than an Olympic bar, so it does require you to use a little bit more grip strength rather than just your hand enveloping around the bar as a way to stay attached. This works the same exact muscles that you're going to be using while you're grabbing onto your opponent's wrist. And I definitely recommend getting creative with your angles here. As you can see, I'm starting with the attachment up high as I sit on the ground, pulling low, just simulating more movements, pulling on someone's wrist when I'm seated and they're standing. This is great for working that grip strength that transfers specifically to Jiu Jitsu. Now, during the 6-week grip work phase, I'd assume you're still going to Jiu Jitsu. You should at all times be paying attention to what your body is saying. If you start to experience elbow pain somewhere during this process, I'd back off the grip work. Maybe go back into training your back for strength a little bit more. Go back to using your wrist wraps. Give your elbows, your grip work a break. I think a lot of us, especially those of us with a wrestling background, were taught to push through the pain, push past all your obstacles, kind of tuck your chin and dig in, right? This really isn't a great mindset for focusing on long-term consistency, because if we're constantly pushing past our elbow pain, that typically will just get worse, right? We have to listen to what our body's saying. I'm not always training at 100%. I'm someone that likes to lift weights and do jujitsu. I'm either dumping 100% intensity into one of those things, not all of them at once. With the right approach, we can train a bunch of different things. It's just a matter of being smart about it. So if you do start experiencing joint pain, specifically elbow pain, I will cater that elbow pain. I'm not going to continually push through that because I don't want it to get worse. I don't want to spend downtime to let injuries heal. I want to be able to stay on the mats, train consistently, and let my body improve. Which leads nicely into my last tip, rationing your intensity. If you're someone who likes to lift weights, do jujitsu, and maybe even have another side quest on top of that, like improving your grip strength, you need to be strategic with where you're putting your intensity. If you are consistently dropping all of your intensity into all three things, eventually you're gonna run into pain, which then, if you continue to ignore that, puts you in the arena of potentially running into injuries. So for those of you who are wanting to focus primarily on jiu-jitsu performance, but you still wanna lift weights and you still wanna pursue things like grip strength, I would say put all your intensity into jiu-jitsu, pull back on the weight room department, pull back on your grip strength stuff. You're still getting a lot of grip work at jiu-jitsu, especially those of you who are crazy and training twice a day, almost every day. You're getting a lot of grip work. You're getting a lot of isometric work in there. You can pull back on the weights. You can pull back on the grip strength stuff. You don't want to overdo it, right? If you want to train injury-free, you have to be mindful, you have to be strategic, and you have to be smart. It's not about dropping intensity into all three categories. It's about pulling back where necessary and listening to your body and addressing issues before they turn into injuries. Those of you who've been with me for a while know I love strength and athletic performance. So if you want more strength content, more stamina content, more grip work content, let me know. I love this stuff. And if you guys want to learn more about it, I'm happy to show it. All right, well, you guys know how we like to end them. Sometimes backwards, always forwards. I'll see you in the next one.